What up, y'all? This is Tracy from Nerd Squish, and today we're talking about Leigh Whannell's Wolfman. I feel like I've been waiting centuries for this new iteration of my favorite character. The 1941 Wolfman movie starring Lon Chaney Jr. is one of my favorite movies of all time, and it set the precedent for werewolf media. The 2010 remake, although widely criticized, is a beautiful reimagining, in my opinion. It has its faults, but it was a fantastic update to a classic film, and it gave us one of the best on-screen werewolves that we have ever seen. Change my mind. So when I first heard that there was a new Wolfman in the works back in 2020, I was so excited that I could scream. And since that original announcement, I have been on a roller coaster of emotions with the constant changes in the production of this movie. Well, constant changes, or should we say, transformations. But it's finally here. It's in the theaters. I have seen it. So the question is, was it worth the wait? Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of this review, I'm throwing up ye old spoiler warning, okay? We're diving into details. I'm going to tell you major plot points that are gonna spoil some things about the movie. So if you don't wanna know that, stop. Stop what you're doing. Purchase a ticket. Go to the movies. Get an icy, okay? Get some popcorn. Enjoy it. And then come on back and watch this review so we can nerd out together. The opening of this film is top-notch. It had me instantly hooked. The movie opens with text explaining the legend of our newest Wolfman. So instead of a traditional werewolf that is bound to the full moon, we have some sort of disease or virus that runs rampant in the woods, and the Native Americans indigenous to this area called it the face of the wolf. And people would essentially just go missing in these mountains and in these woods, and they would never be seen again. After this, we cut to a young version of our main character, Blake, who lives in the woods of Oregon with his dad. Dad is a bit rough around the edges. He's a former Marine, and he's very tough on his son, and he is apparently on the hunt for the werewolf of this universe. And it almost kind of gives you like supernatural vibes, right? Because you've got this very tough dad who's trying to teach his sons how to survive while hunting down monsters. I mean, you know, add one more kid in there and this is supernatural. And the tension in this scene, it's there, okay? I mean, we see glimpses of the werewolf, of the creature, but he's seemingly more of a shadow in this beginning portion of the movie. And then we flash to 30 years later where Blake is all grown up. He is a writer that's in between jobs, but he's taking care of his daughter for now while his wife is a working journalist. One day he gets news that his father has officially been declared dead after disappearing many years ago. So Blake picks up the family. They go back to his childhood home to clean up his father's belongings. You can see where this is going. On their truck up to his father's home, they see a creature in the middle of the road crash their vehicle, and of course, Blake gets scratched. The family of three is forced to run on foot to the house and are isolated in here for the duration of the movie with Blake, who is slowly turning into a monstrous creature. And I love this concept. You're stuck in the house, isolated, no phones, while your husband or father is becoming something else, something that you cannot trust. Someone that's supposed to protect you above all else becomes your biggest threat. But you also can't leave the house because the other creature is running around out there waiting to get you. It's terrifying, and they do a really good job of showcasing each character's fears throughout the process. The way that the slow werewolf transformation is portrayed is fantastic. I love that you get to step into Blake's shoes and you get to see all the crazy things that he's seeing and experiencing. One of the first things to go is he loses the ability to speak, and then on the flip side, he can't understand what his wife or daughter is saying. And what he's seeing? Totally wild. I'm not entirely sure why werewolves are apparently on like a 24/7 mushroom trip, but I like that you get to experience everything from his point of view. Specifically, there is a scene where Blake starts to hear these crazy loud like banging sounds. So he goes to investigate further up into the second story of the house, and he sees this closet where this sound is coming from. And like the anticipation of this scene, you are like, oh my god, we're gonna see something crazy, right? You're thinking, okay, the werewolf's just stuck in the closet, okay? And he's gonna open that door, that thing's gonna bust out, and things are gonna go down. But that's not quite what happens. It's just a spider climbing on the wall. Due to Blake's hearing intensifying, the little feet of the spider is volumes louder than it actually is. Although let's be honest right now, this was the scariest part of this film, because that spider was huge. Like, Australia, radioactive, he owns the house now, big. And the worst part is this man doesn't kill the spider. Okay? So not only do we have disease wolf roaming the halls of this house, but you know that this giant, disgusting spider is just gonna crawl all over your face in the middle of the night. Okay, so that's the true horrors of Leigh Whannell's Wolfman. I want to commend this movie for its practical effects. We got a werewolf that is 100% practical, which is something that we don't get to say often, especially with modern cinema. Now let's address the elephant in the room. The werewolf design sucked. There was a lot of cool aspects to the slow transformation, but the final werewolf, it kind of looks like they were mid-makeup, okay? Your boy was in the chair, and they just went brushes down, and they just quit, and they stopped applying the makeup, and they're like, yeah, we can film now. Which is weird. You put all this time and effort into practical effects, as well as all the other beautiful visuals of this movie, and this is what we get. This is the design. You were there. You were on your way to creating a werewolf, like a cool werewolf, and then you stopped. You just had to keep going. And obviously, we have another werewolf in the film, right? The one that attacked Blake. And this one is a little bit more wolfy than Blake is. What's interesting is it's not exactly the character that was revealed at Halloween Horror Nights, right? It's similar, but not quite. It was basically the same. The only real difference being that we had actual practical effects and makeup, right? And not just a rubber mask. So it was a little better on camera than, what we saw in the parks. The other difference, though, is that the one in the parks had white hair, and then this one had brown hair. Which makes me wonder, who is this guy? Is this the man that they refer to in the beginning of the film that went missing in 1995? Or did the werewolf begin to go gray and he ran to Walmart to go get some box dye because he said, you know what, I can't have a face like this and go gray. We can't work with that. The werewolf design is a choice. I'll never understand the concept of a werewolf that's losing his hair, because literally in the movie at one point when Blake's really starting to go through it, he goes and grabs his hair and a chunk just falls out, right? So then he's just continuously balding throughout the movie, which is the complete opposite of a werewolf. I'm all about different designs and different takes on a werewolf, but if there's one thing that a werewolf is supposed to have, it's hair. Instead, we have a man that is suffering from male pattern baldness, and for some reason the hair that was on his head got transferred to his back. I don't get it. Another thing that I really didn't like about this film is the fact that we completely changed the werewolf lore, and then on top of that, we didn't dive deeper into it. We have a werewolf that is not a slave to the full moon, unlike basically every other werewolf we've ever seen. After being attacked, the transformation begins almost immediately, and it appears that they're just stuck in that form forever. There's no back and forth from man to wolf. And on top of that, there seems to not really be any powers that come along with this wolf disease. Your typical werewolf has super speed, strength, and agility. But not this one. You just have heightened senses that make spiders more terrifying than they already are, and that's it. And this werewolf is actually very easy to kill, which this could be debated, right? So, okay, before I delve into this, I'm gonna throw up another spoiler, okay? Come on, people, don't yell at me for this. You clicked on this. The movie ends with Blake fully-ish wolfed out, chasing Charlotte and Ginger into a deer stand where Charlotte is forced to shoot him and he just dies. And my first initial thought was, okay, I guess we don't need silver bullets here. But you don't know what kind of bullets were in that gun. She stole this from somebody that lives in the woods, so it's very possible that this guy knew of the legend, knew what kills a werewolf, and that gun could have had a silver bullet in it, right? But I'm not buying that, okay? Because the other werewolf literally died by just like a bite to the neck. So, I don't know, these wolves aren't very scary. I mean, I guess it's scary because it's really ugly, and if it scratches you, you turn into the hairy back bald thing, and that's, I guess, kind of scary. But I definitely wanted more of the werewolf lore. We're gonna just completely change it, but not explain any of it, and my brain doesn't work like that. I need more explanation. The movie did have some super fun Easter eggs in it, the first one being Blake's childhood dog being a German Shepherd. This is a nod to the werewolf that attacked Larry Talbot in the original black and white film. The werewolf version of Bella was played by a German Shepherd named Moose. The second Easter egg relating back to the original Wolfman is of course the shirt that Blake is seen wearing in the film, which is very similar to Lon Chaney's button-down shirt in the 1941 movie. The third Easter egg that I noticed in this movie isn't a nod to Wolfman, but it actually harkens back to Leigh Whannell's past project, the 2004 splatter film Saw. And he managed to feature one of the most brutal parts of that film, someone cutting off their own leg. Except, well, they didn't exactly cut it off this time. Look, I know I just sent out a lot of complaints, but after all is said and done, I actually really enjoyed this film. It was entertaining and it kept my attention throughout the duration of the movie. It had excellent visuals and beautiful camera work. The body horror provided some really great gross out moments, especially the arm moment, if you know, you know. All of the actors were great, and I really enjoyed the relationship between Blake and Ginger. There are really only two things I didn't like about this movie: the werewolf design and the title. Now, even though the final werewolf design isn't great, this is a solid werewolf film. The unfortunate reality is a good werewolf is hard to find. And there's plenty of movies out there that I love the movie, I love the story, but the final werewolf is a little lackluster. So that, you know, it stings a little bit, but I can get over that. What really hurts this film is its title. You could have named this movie literally anything else, and I think it would be much more successful. This should have been an original, standalone type thing. Its own thing. Because this has absolutely nothing to do with the original Wolfman. Completely different characters, completely different werewolf, completely different lore. The only similarity between this movie and the 1941 original is the title. That's it. And again, if you want to create a completely different type of werewolf and lycanthrope story, that's fine. But this is just riding the coattails of the original. This is the same thing as if you went to a restaurant. You order the biggest, juiciest steak on the menu. The waiter comes and plops a salad onto the table. I'm talking just lettuce and vegetables, no protein in sight. And you tell the waiter, I ordered a steak. And he looks at you and says, yes, this is what we call a steak in our establishment. It's catfishing on all counts. They should have called this movie Face of the Wolf and created their own entire original werewolf story because that's what they did. And then they just mislabeled it. I personally think this is a movie worth watching, especially if you are a werewolf fan or a monster fan. I think it's a good movie, but you gotta know what you're getting into. This is a great werewolf film, but a terrible Wolfman. So I'm curious, okay, because this one, it's a hot topic and there's a lot of strong feelings across the board. What did you think of Leigh Whannell's 2025 Wolfman? Is it a yay? Is it a nay? Are you gonna be, having nightmares about the giant radioactive spider fighting the Wolfman? That's the movie we need. Wolfman versus radioactive spider. Let's go. Let's do this, Leigh Whannell. That's the next one. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big old thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so when new videos hit the channel, you'll be notified. And as always, thank y'all for watching, and I'll catch you nerds later. I mean, he really just had to put that big old spider in the movie. That was disrespectful.